Hey everyone, today we are doing some Green Lantern Corps action. We are going over the McFarlane Toys DC Superpowers, John Stewart, Kilowog, and Guy Gardner. If you guys want to grab these figures, at the time of this recording, they all three are available on Amazon. Unfortunately, it's kind of spotty, sold out, and whatnot with Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth. So with that said, let's look at these kick-butt packaging. We'll start with the Renegade one that I like to call Guy Gardner because he's always the hothead. Love the artist rendition here. So if you guys know who the artists are, I really appreciate it if you'd let me know down in the comments. Love just the simple Green Lantern logo there. McFarlane there on the side, on the back. All the figures that are in this wave. I'll get a close-up so you can check it out as well as the read-up. Come around the back. On the back. This is the front. The Superpowers things doesn't have any cool packaging, just the old blister thing, which I appreciate that Todd just does the old school nod to everything. Now with Kilowog, I love that this figure has the classic Green Lantern logo core. There, looks great. Beautiful artist rendition. On the back, again, all the figures from the wave, as well as a read-up, so I'll get close-ups for you guys to check that out. And Mr. John Stewart, this is from the first wave of Superpowers that came out a while back, I think 2020-ish, something like that. Great artist rendition of John there. On the back, I got a close-up of all the first wave figures that came out, as well as the read-up. Now, with all that said, are all three of these figures cool or not? Let's crack them open and let's check them out. Backstory on these members of the Green Lantern Corps. Guy Gardner was created by John Broome and Gil Kane, and Green Lantern Volume 2, number 59 from March of 1968. Although he was semi-mild-mannered when he was first introduced, it was Steve Englehart and Joe Stanton who, in the 80s, changed his persona to a hot-tempered bat boy. Englehart is on the record saying, "Why can't there be two Green Lanterns? Why can't there be more than two?" That eventually led to the Green Lantern Corps, but along the way, he decided to resurrect the lost Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, who had been terminally bland and then brain damaged, which he thought was a complete useless character. Englehart based Guy's look on Major Ronald Merrick from the TV series The Jewel and the Crown, portrayed by Tim Pigott-Smith, I think is how you pronounce it. When Aben Sur crash lands on Earth, his power ring seeks out and finds two potential successors, Guy Gardner and Hal Jordan. Jordan is closer to the crash, so he is chosen over Guy. As a result, Guy is regulated to being a backup should anything happen to Hal. When Jordan becomes aware of Gardner's status as his backup, he sets up a chance meeting and the two become friends. Guy Gardner was seriously injured after being hit by a bus while attempting to rescue one of his students during an earthquake. And during his recovery, the Guardians recruited John Stewart to be Jordan's new backup. Guy, unfortunately, sustains a brain damage and is rendered comatose for several years. He recovers, but his personality is radically altered, causing him to become more arrogant and unstable. Guy would eventually go on to be a founding member of the Justice League International. Jordan returns to Earth to reclaim his title as Green Lantern of Sector 2814. Gardner's response is to challenge Hal to a fight where the loser would quit the Corps. Gardner loses and surrenders his ring. Guy would, though, go on to steal the then-dead Sinestro's ring, and during the 2005 miniseries Green Lantern Rebirth, Hal Jordan's ring splits in two and Gardner's ring is restored, him becoming once again a member of the Green Lantern Corps. John Stewart was created by Dennis O'Neil and Neil Adams, first appearing in Green Lantern Volume 2, number 87 in January 1972. It was Neil Adams who came up with the idea of a backup Green Lantern. For those interested, his next appearance was in Justice League of America number 110 from April 1974. John's original design was based on the actor Sidney, y'all are going to have me say this name, Hotier, I think is how you pronounce it. John's original backstory was he was an architect, then later retconned into a veteran U.S. Marine from Detroit who got his education paid for by Uncle Sam and became an architect. John became the primary Green Lantern after Hal Jordan gave up being a Green Lantern in the 80s, and the Guardians selected Stewart for full-time duty. This is when the title of the book was changed to the Green Lantern Corps. Stewart was voiced by Phil Lamar for the Justice League animated series. Now, Kilowog, on the other hand, he was created by Steve Englehart and Joe Stanton and first appeared in Green Lantern Corps number 201 from June of 1986. Kilowog was a gifted genetic scientist from the planet Bulvac Bicus. After being recruited to the Corps, he became the primary trainer of the Corps' newest members, instructing new recruits on how to handle and best utilize their power rings, using his trademark word poser, adapted by his trainer Lantern Ermi, I think is how you pronounce that, Kilowog acted as the first trainer to Hal Jordan. During Emerald Twilight, Kilowog attempted to prevent Hal from entering and absorbing the power of the Great Battery itself, which destroyed the core. Kilowog was disintegrated with a blast by Jordan's ring, leaving nothing but a seared skull and ashes. Later, his spirit was recalled to life by Kyle Rayner and Ganthet. So, lots of history there, lots of awesome reading, guys. Now, as for the figures, the only one of these, unfortunately, that comes with an accessory is Guy Gardner. He comes with this cool-looking power battery, which I wish all of them would have came with one, just because I'm used to Green Lanterns coming with their trademark lanterns, which this looks very much like the original release of the DC Superpowers back in the 80s. He came with one. Unfortunately, I had lost it over the years, but I'm glad to see that this is back in the mix. But unfortunately, like I said, no other of these figures come with anything, so that's very unfortunate. As for the paint apps, I do prefer, and I've said this many times, I do prefer the multiverse because they're more comic accurate and more articulated. But still, as someone that's nostalgic about the figures from back in the day, I'm thankful for these. And Guy very much is rocking his trademark Green Lantern outfit with the turtleneck. And I really do hope that, what's his name? Oh my God, I can't remember Mal's real name off the top of my head. You guys know who I'm talking about, right? Yeah, I see his face and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, so we're just going to go with it. But anyway, I hope that he does justice to Guy Gardner in the new Superman film. Love that they make sure that you see the ring on the finger. That Mo haircut, as I call it, has that nice green like in the comics. Always love that big belt. And then, of course, the rocker boots. Great stuff there. John always had the more, what do you call it, traditional, well, I guess you'd call it some more traditional look, but he never wore a mask because he said that he didn't feel the need to hide his identity. So he's the only Lantern whose identity was known. I think Guy's was eventually, but Hal always kept his a secret. Again, you can see the ring. And this very much has a comic accurate version to it, but also has that animated Justice League series look to it. I kind of wish they would have given him the mustache and goatee mixture from the show, because that was always a cool look to me. Love the bracers, old school looking boots. Kilowog, as you can see already, he is a more massive superpower figure, which I am thankful for. Has his big fists, of course, trademark Green Lantern ring. Now, for this one, to me, this face sculpt, because Kilowog always kind of had a semi-faux pig look to him, but this one in particular looks very much like that animated Green Lantern series that came out a couple of years ago. And it was okay. It was just the CGI was just a little too blocky for my taste. But this kind of very much has an homage to it, has that nice beefiness to it, and he stands relatively well. Same with the articulation. One thing about this one that you want to watch out for is, of course, even with the superpowers, I would advise warming them up because they are a little stiff from the paint. But this one, his head is hard to turn. Like, I thought I was going to break it. And it's so tight that eventually that's going to come sneaking back to the front. So it's really hard to get him to look other directions. So I'm still going to have to warm him up and play with that, because that's just a very tight head joint. Arms on these, just do that. Nothing more. No articulation. That's what I said about the superpowers. It's frustrating if you want to do photography with them. You're very much limited. Legs can kick out, just like the old action figures. That's it. Same here. 360, that's it. Head. Legs. And the same with John. And I think some of these superpowers, I'm not sure which ones, but I think some of them you can bend the elbows, but unfortunately, this is not the case with these. So it is what it is. For articulation, at least, nonetheless, they look good. And, you know, if you want to get another lantern holding the power battery, John's hand in particular is one of those very tightly shut hands, so I'm almost afraid to try this because I don't want to bust it. I'm more than likely going to have to warm that hand up, because if you look at Guy's, his has more of a an opening compared to that, which is kind of frustrating. So yeah, I'm going to have to warm John up before I even attempt to try to do that, because I don't want to bust that little thin doodad there. So again, if you're more of a nostalgia collector, these are going to be up your line. If you're more wanting comic accurate and articulation, the multiverse are definitely give you more up your alley. But again, like I said, I'm also into nostalgia, because I remember buying these, well, my parents buying them for me for like $5 back in the day in the toy bin outside of KB Toys. So good memories there. Who's your favorite Green Lantern Corps member? Rizzio is definitely mine, along with Guy and John and, of course, Kilowog. What say y'all? Now here's our Green Lanterns next to the old school DC Superpowers Green Lantern Hal Jordan, as well as this new McFarlane's, I guess it's digital, because it's not really DC Multiverse. It's called like digital NFT or something like that, Silver Age Green Lantern. And this is what I mean. I love these for the nostalgia reason, as I've said, but I love being able to have a nice range of motion. I mean, you don't buy these for their articulation. As I said, you buy them for nostalgia and to pose them on a shelf, what have you. So to have them, I'm happy, especially since, if you have a better conditioned version of Hal than I have, because I played this thing to death. Still, though, looks great. I wish the paint apps were still a little bit cleaner, but what can you do? I loved my toys, and I still do to this day. So putting him up against these new superpower versions, even though with the scuffs and everything else, he looks absolutely amazing. And I cannot wait to get this one reviewed, because he looks so kick-ass. I know they just released another gold label version, but this one just captures the old school look, even without the white frillies on the side of his head. So we'll let that be. But having John Stewart, Kilowog, and Guy Gardner, they look exquisite together. What do you guys plan to do with your Green Lanterns? Who's your favorite lantern? Mine personally would have to be Guy, or Sinestro's daughter, which I cannot remember her name off the top of my head, or Arizia, I believe is her name, the blonde one. All three of them, especially with Kilowog and the Emerald Warriors, was absolutely fantastic. Now, are you guys, as I said, are you going to put them on a shelf? Are you do action figure photography? Let us know. Share some photos over on the socials and tag us in them. We'd love to talk with you all about your collection. It'd be fun. From a nostalgic point of view, I really do enjoy these figures. It just brings back that time when you were a kid and these action figures were just the bee's knees with all the cool accessories, and you couldn't think as a kid, he's like, this couldn't get better than this. But we have definitely come a long ways. So I can appreciate that. However, doing action figure photography and whatnot, these things drive me nuts because the articulation is so antiquated. But again, if you're just a nostalgia collector, or you just like to post things on your shelf and want to kind of recapture that time when things are a little more simple, these action figures are definitely up your alley. And to have these Green Lantern Corps members together looks absolutely spectacular. So do you guys enjoy them? Let me know if you have. Please, first and foremost, as I said, support your local comic shop or wherever it is like to get your action figures and comics, and grab these figures while they are still available, or the places that we talked about at the beginning of the review. Speaking of, if you have enjoyed this review, really would appreciate you taking a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little OA bell next subscribe, that way as I get to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I will make sure I leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, photo slideshow coming up next. Hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.